we are appalled, really. And it's not just this instance. Um, uh, this morning at about 03:30, a US Air Force plane landed at Shannon Airport, going from Washington, D.C., probably on its way to the Middle East. Um, and uh, clearly what's happening at the moment with the deportation of Palestinians who, as far as we know, had committed no crime in the US or anywhere else. But just because they were Palestinians, they were deported using a plane owned by a millionaire um, belonging to the Desert family and a friend of apparently Donald Trump. We are aware there's up to 10,000 Palestinian prisoners are being held in Israel and the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Many of these had been tortured, and several of them had died due to abuse in the Israeli prison system.
And we have to note that in this story as well, that some of the Palestinians who were deported claimed to have no real connection to the West Bank or indeed Palestine as a whole. They don't have any family or any real connections there.
That's correct. And the likelihood is, in fact, these people could well be arrested over the coming months and held in prison, like the literally thousands of Palestinians who are being held in prison at the moment. So, in addition, there are also separate reports that the convicted paedophile, the late Jeffrey Epstein, his aircraft passed through Shannon Airport on a number of occasions. So now we have a combination of US military using Shannon Airport, Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft using Shannon Airport, Dublin Airport, and possibly Waterford Airport as well. And none of these planes are ever searched or properly investigated.
We've known for years that Shannon Airport has been used for the transfer of prisoners. Now, of course, under international law, that is legal. I know your organisation is, of course, very much opposed to that. But is there a difficulty here and perhaps a complication in that it's not controversial at this stage to say that the actions of ICE in the US are questionable and are illegal in some cases? And now our own local airport is facilitating the deportation of people apprehended by ICE, whatever circumstances they may have been apprehended in.
Sure, yes. It's a huge concern. There is a comparison with the torture rendition program that the US operated during the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, in which Shannon Airport was used by the CIA and others to transport prisoners to various places, including Guantanamo. And this is equally serious. At our vigil in Shannon yesterday, in fact, we actually made a complaint to the Gardaí at Shannon, both in connection with the Jeffrey Epstein plane passing through Shannon and also the deportation planes which have passed even more recently through Shannon Airport. So we are very concerned. None of these planes are ever searched. There is no reason why the Gardaí shouldn't be investigating it, but they have always been directed by the Irish government not to do so.
You mentioned the fact that the plane used in this instance was owned by a property tycoon, an Israeli-American and reportedly a friend of Donald Trump. Now, the Department of Transport has issued a statement saying that stops at Irish airports by private aircraft and commercial charters, which are technical stops for non-traffic purposes, do not require prior authorisation from the Department of Transport, and that may well be the case. But again, is there a conflict here because while it was a privately owned plane, it's doing the work of the US government? And is there an element maybe where that might have been deliberate on the part of the US government to circumvent that law?
Yes, plus the fact that now that we know and the Irish government knows that this plane and these prisoners were transported to Shannon Airport, steps must be taken to ensure that this doesn't happen again. and that the abuse of Shannon Airport, not only for these deportations, but also by the US military. Ireland, the Irish government in particular, is facilitating genocide in Gaza at the moment, and that genocide also includes the West Bank, and Irish government under the Genocide Convention is absolutely obliged to take all necessary steps, not just some necessary steps, but all necessary steps to avoid being complicit in the genocide in Gaza.
And what steps would you like to see taken this week in response to this developing story, Edward?
We will be making a formal written request to the Gardaí in Ennis, concerning both the Epstein planes to Shannon and the more recent ones, the Desert aircraft involved in this deportation. And it's vital that the Irish government take steps to ensure that this doesn't happen again.